Welcome, everybody. Episode number 26 of How to Become a Sales Warrior. I'm your host, Eddie Pods. My co-host, Mark
Simpson.
How are you today?
I'm good. How about you?
Episode 26. I'm pretty excited about that.
Very excited. Very interesting guest today, and I guess we're coming off a wonderful Super Bowl as well.
Yeah, no, I didn't enjoy it. We'll talk about sports in a second. We are here to educate a younger generation of the sales world and maybe how to learn from our mistakes on what it took for us to get to the top. For me, it took 20 years. Maybe you're a little younger than I, so you may have had a success at a little earlier of a stage, but the goal is to try to shave off years of process, learning, getting tips, tidbits from the trade shows, from the conferences, just little things that could help a new, young salesman or woman succeed quicker. And we're not just talking about financially, we're talking about succeeding through the channels of where success brings you.
Sure.
So that is the goal of the podcast. We do like to jump into right away, sports moment of the weekend. So what was yours?
Pete Alonso resigning.
Okay.
That's we could skip football, yeah, as far as I'm concerned.
For me, and it's about being humble, appreciating what you have. I've met some great people recently, and they turned to me afterwards and said, you're a very humble guy. And I said, well, I'm around humble people, but seeing Eli Manning not get into the Hall of Fame, and they interviewed him. He had a big party planned in New Orleans,
yep,
and he had to still go through with that party, and he wasn't elected, but it didn't define who he was. He didn't cry, they're out to get me's. He was a pro.
You think he's a Hall of Famer?
Yes. You win 2 Super Bowls, you win 2 Super Bowl MVPs? Yes. Yeah. Stop 2 of the greatest teams on earth? Yes. Take away those 4 years, is he a Hall of Fame? No, but they judge you by championships.
Right. He's the only 2-time Super Bowl MVP that's not in the Hall of Fame as of right now.
He'll get there. Everyone says it. Everyone says it. He'll get there. But I just appreciated what a good person he's always been, classy, and it was his parents' influence, the way that he was raised, and he was just. I was very proud of him because I've watched every moment of his career, and even Kurt Warner, who Eli replaced,
that's right,
said, and he spoke to him, and he said, "You'll be in there, and you won't even remember this." So that was the defining sports moment for the weekend for me. Just seeing one of my favorite ball players act like a pro, do the right thing, say the right thing, be a good man. So we're jumping into Chapter 7 today. Chapter 7 is the birth of Eddie Pods, and I know you haven't fully read it. Have you fully read the book?
I've read parts of the book.
Okay,
sure.
Parts of the book. So Chapter 7 is about the birth of Eddie Pods, and I always joked that it was a Norm. Remember Norm?
Yep, from Cheers.
From Cheers.
Yep.
So I had a Norm moment when I was with NARI, National Association of Remodelers, just joined the organization, met some friends, and the very first event I went to was at a bar, and there was 4 of them, standing around. I walked in, they all yelled out in one shot, Eddie Pods is here. Birth of a name that is really, my corporate office uses it.
And your corporate office should be loving you for it.
Yeah, pretty much so. But the reason I bring up this chapter, it's the new birth. Going to an event last week, 75 people, and that one guy that I know, not great friends with, just someone I know from networking, and he walks up and he goes, "Dude, I love your podcast. Your book is awesome. I'm going to read it." That was new. That was the first time, so to speak, that I was recognized that night.
The exposure, yep.
And it felt so real.
Right.
And rewarding, like, holy shit.
It's motivating now.
Oh, hell yeah. And hell yeah, because I'm a podcaster. I'm an author. I'm not just
26 episode podcast.
26 episodes,
right.
And just finding a new identity, enjoying it, accepting it. My wife and I went to a book signing at Barnes & Noble's in Bay Shore on Friday night, and I belong to the Long Island Authors Club, and this was my first week going out, and no one showed up from the organization. I was there for 90 minutes, and I was like, well, there's your support. What is this? You know, I joined this organization,
Right.
but I got some great insights from another author. When he heard I had a podcast, he's like, oh, that's something I'm thinking of doing. I'd really love to get together with you. That, you know, is so, like, I'm starting to get to be known for something other than Eddie Potts, the sales guy. Like, you started a podcast. How'd you do it? You know,
Right.
like.
Yeah, listen, I think, and I tell this to everybody, I think what you've done over the last couple of years, writing the book, the podcast, the email blast, it's all kind of fascinating. And listen, I'm happy to tag along and come on this journey with you. So it's been fun. And like I said, it's only a matter of time until you and I figure it all out.
Oh, absolutely. You know? So if you don't know, there's an action statement in my book. So I remember talking to the author's wife, and she's like, well, what's your book about? And I said, sales. And she goes, oh, you should make it into a training manual. I'm like, I've already implemented that in the book with the action statement. And the biggest thing I got out of that chapter was, and the action statement is, does your job allow you to be a great father, great husband, a great friend, does it? Does it allow you the time to be those kind of people?
Interesting, yeah.
And for myself, it's something my wife always reminds me of how blessed I am that I got to coach your daughter and my daughter for 5 years. How was I able to do that? Because I had the right job that allowed me to be the right dad to coach those kids and make that impression on those kids for their lifetime. And if I didn't have the right job, I wouldn't have been able to do that. How about your job? Does it allow you to be that?
So it's interesting. Today, I'm allowed to do it. But when I was younger, I probably didn't even have that perspective. And it probably hurt me a lot because I was work first and pressure and stress and whatnot, and felt always the need to. I never felt I was as smart or as qualified as everybody else, so the only way I did it was outwork everybody. And as I look back now, that definitely hurt me earlier as a younger person, and I try to make up for it now.
So my advice to any younger salesman or woman out there, if your job doesn't bring you fulfillment or joy, go find another job. You can always make money. But
it's a very valuable thing to think. It makes me think even as I sit here now. It's really, really good advice.
You know, I look at my daughter Madison, who was lost as lost could be 18 months ago, and found her passion in pets. And girl never has a bad day. Bad day is when one of the dogs didn't listen to her, or got scratched by a cat. That's a bad day for her. She comes home with joy every day, telling us stories about the operating room, and it's like she gets it. So it's pretty cool. Best business decision of your week, Mark? What was it?
You know what? Best business decision. It's kind of again outside the realm a little bit, but as I think you know, I've become kind of heavily involved with the Comac Chamber.
Yeah.
And so I didn't do it for business. I did it because I believed in helping the community.
Sure.
And I just feel like the exposure and the relationships that come from that are pretty interesting. And the folks involved are really nice. And look, we're fortunate to be in this community that has a lot of good people and being exposed. So I'm happy with it. It's never something, if you asked me 10 years ago if I ever thought I would do it, no.
You did surprise me when you said you would join the Comac Chamber.
Yeah.
I was like,
listen, if you asked me 5 years ago, if you asked me here I'm sitting here on the podcast. So yeah, things change. Things change.
So didn't you guys dedicate a park?
Yeah, Survivors Park. Yep, that was
Comac, right?
In Comac. Yep, Tom Morrissey. Yep, it really did a good job. Raised a bunch of money for it. Yep, and
where are they at with the park? Is it open?
Yeah, it's open. It's open. Yeah, there's
ball fields.
It's no ball fields. There's like the cancer walk.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you know.
Any
really,
swings or anything?
No swing. No, I don't.
Is this a dog park? What are we doing at this park?
This is it's really. There's memorials.
Oh, okay.
That's a
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I didn't go.
Yeah.
I knew I got the invite. It was like 12:30 on Thursday afternoon, and I was like,
they just did a Newsday article on it too. Yeah.
And again, the lovely Comac Chamber really gets me late with the emails. Like it was literally the day before, and I'm like, I'm going out Friday for lunch. I can't do Thursday too.
A lot of really good people. That's what I'd say.
Awesome. So it was recommended by the National Accounts Manager, Jim Brooks. He's top dog on the national account sides, and my company is pushing me towards being a national sales guy. Not my jam, but that's what they think I should do. Anyway, they asked me to join some relocation organizations, and I joined one called Park, and they're out of Philly. Joined it, signed up to do their conference in April and October. Basically, it's an organization that highlights relocation vendors. So I'm a vendor. I'm a guy who moves people, stores people. It's a good fit. You show up twice a year, make as many contacts as you can, see if you can make some meaningful, maybe I'll touch up on my book on the ride down, because it's down in Philly. But it's something that I do every January and February. What am I going to do different this year with my organizations?
Right. Well, you kind of reassess, because it's beginning of the year. New budgets to make, new sales targets to hit, and this is basically one of the techniques you use to do that.
It is, and I'm bringing it early in the year for others to say, listen, just because you did it last year doesn't mean you should do it again this year.
And what do they say? The rule of sales, right? The earlier you do stuff in the year, the better the results will be.
Right. So I sat there last night setting up my calendar, putting both of those events, the one in April, the one in October. 2-day events, yay, road trip. Maybe I'll take Maria to one of them. We kind of always try to piggyback a trip for me and her to get away. But, I'm looking forward to being uncomfortable, going into a room where I know nobody, and walk out having new connections.
Right, they used to be getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
Getting comfortable being uncomfortable. You're getting the hang of that.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
It does, because the more uncomfortable you are, the more success you will have.
Right.
If you're not afraid of no, because no is just as prevalent, is more prevalent than a yes.
Yep.
So as a salesperson, you have to be able to, let's just walk in there and think we own this joint.
It's just like being a reliever in baseball. You blow a save one day,
gotta come back
out the next day. Yep.
So my buddy shot me a text the other day, and I didn't know he was listening on a regular basis. So he listened to the episode where we talked about Sid Fernandez on...
Oh, with Gagne?
Yeah, we talked about Sid Fernandez.
Yeah.
And he commented, he goes, did you pre-script that? Because you sounded like you just knew when to jump in, what to say, who he was, where he was from. And he's like, how do you know all this crap? I'm like, I don't know, man. But we have a couple fans. That's the important thing.
Listen,
we have a couple of fans.
It's flattering.
It is. Again, going into this room, I won't have to worry about what to say. I won't have to worry about creating a conversation. That'll start the minute I walk in and say hello.
Right.
And that's the way I do it. Being visible. Standing out.
Yeah.
Let them see you in the center of the room. You don't have to be cocky to be confident. Sometimes that gets mixed up.
Right.
Screaming and banging on your chest, and you're trying to be...
Not perceived the right way.
Right, you're trying to be bigger than life, and there's really no reason to try to be bigger than life. There's no reason to, none whatsoever. Just be a big person, be a big personality, but not the loudest guy in the room. You don't have to. You could have the biggest smile. That is really valuable. Have the biggest smile. Don't ever let anyone see you without a smile on. That's my tip. All right, it's tequila time. We're going to take a quick break. Who's our guest today?
So I'm very excited for our guest today. And I know this is a sales podcast, and we brought a bunch of different guests in, but our guest is Rabbi Mendel Teldon from Chabad. The rabbi, I will say this, I'm very honored that he agreed to do this with us. And when we talk, everything he said about honorable, nice gentlemen, this is one of the nicest, true gentlemen that I've ever met, and very happy to get some of his insights as we get a chance to talk with him.
We'll be right back, and we'll have Rabbi when we come back. Thank you. I'm your host, Eddie Pods. This is my co-host, Mark Simpson. And we're going to do a quick shot to Rabbi. I know you're not drinking with us today, but we're going to do our old and new. Purpose of Tequila Time is to...
Make me make weird faces.
The idea of Tequila Time is to show how we used to do something one way, And then how now in the future, however future it is, we do the same thing differently. Both being successful, both being workable, but we just point out what they are. And this week's a little unique because it's totally about me. I told you I went and met that author, and we started talking, and he has a separate publishing company that he's not using Amazon. He's partially using Amazon. And I said, well, what are you paying for your books? And he said, oh, I pay about $10 a book. You know, and they're on sale for like $21.99. I'm like,
50.
I said, I pay $2.97 a book at Amazon. So why aren't you buying your books at Amazon? So the conversation has to do with Amazon does everything for you. Everything. Amazon, Amazon, Amazon. So I signed my book up to be sold on Amazon, and what I find out is they make the lion's share of the profits. They do the printing, they do this, they do that. The equity isn't there. It's not a good, equitable split. It's kind of like 80-20 if I'm lucky. And when you're only talking about $12, it's not a lot of money. So I joined this author group and went on a meeting, and one of the first things they said was, sell the book on your own. And I think I told you on the last show that I went and did a conference the next week. I started selling on my own.
Right.
Do it yourself. Fuck Amazon, excuse my French. Stop letting them have all your profits. Do it yourself. So I went and opened up a bank account, got myself my own little QR code. I opened up and my wife was really happy about this, I opened a Venmo account because my wife was my Venmo. And we're putting that Venmo on my website, and I'm having my business card changed to QR code to go to my website, not Amazon, which is what I was doing before.
Right.
And now when someone's interested in my book and I hand them a business card, it's going to take them to my website, and it's going to be a spot for them to order a book. And I'll ship it myself. So I will get the $15.99. I only paid $2.99. That's $13 a book. And again, this is about economics. Stop giving all your money to Amazon.
Right.
Take it back.
Right.
So that's my suggestion, and that was listening to someone else, hearing someone else's plight, hearing what can I do different. And like a deer in a headline, I'm like, ooh, that's a good one. And I jumped right on it. Like, implementation's going on as we speak. QR codes are being made. Website is being redirected as we speak. I'm very proud of that. Like, you know.
All on your own.
Someone told me something. They made a great suggestion. I initiated, followed it through, make it happen. There we go. All right, man. Networking tip of the day. I've already spoken mine, so you're going to give yours.
Listen, I hate to be repetitive on this, but our networking tip is don't be afraid to be uncomfortable. Don't be afraid to go into a room. Don't be afraid to hear no.
What does that say?
Help others be uncomfortable. How about that?
Help others be not rehearsed.
Yeah, and I'll say partly through my relationship with Ed, you know, I'm not a sales guy, but I'm a sales guy. We're all salespeople in our own way. Yeah. And I think not being afraid to be in front of any type of person, situation, good, bad, and sometimes the best sales come from bad situations.
Oh yeah.
And not being afraid to handle a very difficult customer, client, whatever it might be, and knowing how to kind of turn that around gives you a lot of credibility.
A lot of times I get thrown into the fire at Pods. They want me to take over an account that just exploded. And it exploded over many different things. And there is nothing that I haven't seen in 14 years. There's nothing that I don't know how to appease a client who's just got beat up by Pods. Okay? They got beat up. They felt wrong. I can solve that problem. Just my talents allow me to hang up the phone with that person like, wasn't expecting that. You know, and that's let me help them. There's nothing in it for me at this very moment other than keep retaining you as a client. That's my job right now. I'm not getting paid to do this. Right now, it's retain you as a client. What do you need? What can I do? What can I make? How can I make it better for you? You know, and that's the part of jumping into an uncomfortable, doesn't matter if you're networking or talking to a new client, sure you have that with your congregation.
I think you gave a perfect, thrown into the fire. I think if we can, I think, you know, the way you started, thrown into the fire. Is that a fair? is that a fair?
Yeah, fair assumption.
What were your choices? Long Island or Siberia, was it?
Yeah, very good, very good. And I didn't have a coat, so I chose Long Island.
Yeah, go back. So take us through. How did you end up in Long Island, or how did you end up in Comac, and what's the background there?
Very good. So, my parents moved to Stony Brook actually in '77. They were the first Chabad rabbis, rabbinic couple on the island back in '77. They moved. I was born in '79 in Stony Brook. They moved to Comac in about '83, I remember correctly.
Did they move to Chabad with them?
So they hired a new Chabad rabbi to replace them in Stony Brook, and they were involved in developing many of the Chabad centers throughout Suffolk and Nassau.
Was that one on Nichols Road?
Yes.
I used to live out.
Okay.
And I remember.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
I remember going by it
There you
as
go.
I was out there for a long time. Cool.
So they, at the time, early '80s, Comac, and I think it still largely is considered a hub in Suffolk Jewry.
Mm-hmm.
The JCC is here. There was at that time a Judaic store. There was a butcher. There was a grocery, etc. So they felt that Comac was a strategic place to be able to move to, and they moved to Comac. And my parents oversee the development across Long Island of many different Chabad centers, and therefore Comac really wasn't given its appropriate attention that it was needed. When I got married, my wife and I, in 2003, and we were wondering.
But did you grow up in Comac?
So I grew up in Comac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, did not go to Comac schools. Went to yeshiva. There used to be Hebrew Academy in
Five
Hapag,
Towns?
Comac,
Oh.
right by the end of the Northern State. With that, now it's the Best Learning Center.
I know where it is.
So when you get off
Yeah.
the Northern State, that building used to be Hebrew Academy. I was there till 5th grade, and part of our educational system in the Chabad community is really to be of service, to find a community that might need rabbinic assistance, that might be underserved in its Jewishness, and be able to really go there and help out. So. It's just part of our cultural norm that you grow up wanting to find a community that is in need and to help out.
So how does it go from you go to yeshiva, you graduate yeshiva,
Yeah,
and then when you graduate, are you given options, or how does it work from graduation?
very good. So within the Chabad community, the way it works is that it can happen multiple ways. There's an office that will have almost like a matchmaking service, a J-date for rabbis.
That's
You
great.
are looking for this, they need this, these are your services, do you swipe
Oh, this
right,
is great,
swipe
yeah.
left, and we'll make a match.
Okay.
We'll make in Yiddish terminology, we'll make a shidduch, and we'll connect the two. So you might have a community that's looking for a youth director, you might have a community that is looking for adult education or a nursery school or whatever it may be, and there's a group of, I'm going to say anywhere from, now it's probably 200 plus couples that are looking to be of service, to be of service to the broader Jewish community, and they'll be in touch, like, hey, I'm looking for this type of job, I'm looking for this type of job, I think I can service better as an adult education type of rabbi, I think I can be a pulpit rabbi, I think I can run a camp really nicely, and there's an office that introduces the two. I mean, now it's already so big that there are, a lot of it's word of mouth, like I heard this community is looking for this, and someone will call and say, hey, I think I could be of service in that regard. So when we got married, we were really looking to
Plant your roots.
to find somewhere, and really Comac was not my top 10 list. I wanted to plant my own roots. I wanted to do my own thing, and we looked at my mother-in-law had a friend in California that. There was a college campus that was looking for a rabbinic team, and we looked into that for a second. My wife had spent a year in Perth, Australia, helping my brother and sister-in-law.
I see. Okay.
So that was definitely a calling that we thought. We didn't go for a day to try it out. I think it takes like 2 months to get there. So it was like.
So you turned down Australia, you turned down California.
And I was really looking for a place with 2 Home Depots, 2 Targets, and 9 Starbucks. And that Comac was the only one that really fit the bill.
Wow,
So
that's great.
You make the commitment. You come to Comac.
my parents were like, hey, listen, we've lived here for 20 years. My parents were at that time opening up a day school, the Jewish Academy in Comac. There was someone, and even the 20 years they were in Comac, they were busy developing other communities throughout Long Island. They needed someone to really invest deeply into Comac. And we weighed our options, and we thought we would have a running head start. to move to Commack. I knew Commack. I know Commack. I
Right.
grew up in Commack. I love Commack. I love the community. I love Long Island. And my wife, although she's a Brooklyn girl, she was willing to give it a chance. And we did a program or two, and there was a tremendous, a bigger response than we thought there would be. And I'm like, okay, let's try it. So we moved out. We took over my parents' congregation.
Are you there 21 years now?
So we became leaders of Chabad in Suffolk in 2004. So coming on 21 years.
So
very good.
when you take it over, how big is the congregation?
So the congregation at the time, it's hard to quantify size in the sense that there's no formal membership structure. High holidays would have, let's say, 50 people, 60 people. My parents had bought a home on Vets Highway in Commack and refurbished it a little bit. So that was about it. Hebrew school had about 7, 8 kids. High Holidays had 50 people, and we took over. Yeah, so now, fast forward 21 years.
21 years.
High Holidays, it's hard pre-COVID, post-COVID, but on High Holidays we have, with all our programming together, probably close to 500 people.
Oh,
and,
wow.
It's come a long way, so thank God.
And again, I say this, it's really off of your efforts and work because you're kind of the brand.
Or my wife.
And your wife,
I'll
too.
take some
Yeah,
credit,
your wife.
right?
Yeah, your wife is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of start off, and what do you do?
What do you do? So I'm going to frame it like this, perfectly in the context of this conversation. Many people historically view rabbis as policemen. The rabbi from the pulpit is telling you what you're doing right and wrong and telling you hell and brimstone or whatever it may be. A rabbi's real job is a mixture between a salesman and a teacher. And that's really all he's supposed to be doing. That's really all the job is about. Of course, there's the back end and there's the business side, et cetera, which is a different conversation for a different time. But and you mentioned it perfectly before. A rabbi's job is to become comfortable enough with people that they're willing to become uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. Religion has bad marketing to begin with. A rabbi with a beard and a yarmulke and very religious in my own life is a very hard sale because people think you're selling them something that they're not interested in. A salesperson wants to sell you something that you don't know you need or want, but they want to engage you to tell you that you really want it. A rabbi's job is like, they purposely don't want it. They're like, I was burnt by it. It's not just meaningless.
Work for me.
It doesn't work for me. I don't want it. It's really not something for me. And the rabbi's job is to truly, you can't sell anything. If you come in as a salesman off the bat, you've lost before you started.
Right.
But you say you sell by not selling.
Yeah, you really create relationships. You really create relationships, and the product will sell itself afterwards.
I feel that way about what I do.
Yeah.
So it's all in how you're talking to the people.
Yeah.
Do they feel comfortable around you? Or are they going to, in my case, hand over a credit card? In your case, it's hand over the family.
Right.
They entrust you. They believe in you. And that's, it is a sales job, regardless of what your position is.
Right.
You happen to be the guy. To me, you're a VP. You get to make all the decisions for everybody around you. I've never had that.
There you go.
One of these days, I'll get it. But
Become a rabbi.
what's really funny is that I told you this a short while ago. I met Rabbi over 21 years ago when I was working for the New York Islanders. Can't remember if I met him at a game or where I met him, but I went after him to do a group night. And from what you said about your growth, he was looking to do 20 people, maybe 25. If I was still working for the Islanders and I came back now, he'd say I need 200 tickets. That's pretty awesome.
Honestly, of all the sports, hockey is one I just don't get, so it's going to be a hard sale. It's a hard sale.
Yeah. So I don't.
There's like a red line, there's a blue line.
There's a red line, there's a blue line.
I don't know, but I don't know.
I don't know if you remember when we met.
Yes, the Manko's house.
And I said to you, I said we're going to be friends.
I do remember that.
Right? And here we are.
We're both holding shots when you said that.
Why were you at Manko's house?
It was an event, I think, right?
We purposefully did events. We haven't done it in a while now that you mention it. We used to do events where people would host in their house, bring their friends over.
Sure.
I mean, no one's going to a rabbi's house.
It's a networking event.
It's strictly networking. We used to call it an uncensored evening with an authentic Hasidic couple.
I like it.
And people would come and listen. People don't really have a rabbi that's approachable to them, or a rabbi they can really ask questions to. And the opportunity to just have an evening where you could be honest and share all your questions, concerns, disappointments, anger with religion, God, Judaism, rabbis, and life. And there's going to be someone who's going to be honest with you and share genuine answers. And when I don't know, I'll share I don't know, and I'm going to be honest.
You said something, the approachability, where it crosses over with, I mean, again, selling by not selling, but your approachability is second to none. Where I think what your ability, and Ed does this a really good job too, is people feel very comfortable. Like I'm pretty confident I could dump both you guys in rooms, and you'll come out with friends and knowing a bunch of people. I'm kind of like in the middle. So, but yeah, but I think when you talk
Can I tell you about all my social anxiety?
It's hidden well.
You know what? My job has forced me to overcompensate and to learn how to deal with that. I'm not naturally that way.
Really?
But because I've learned salesmanship.
Sure. Part of the job.
And culture of networking and creating friendships over the course of 20 years. You really learn how to, there's a lot of self-talk before I walk into a room like that. I got to get into the right zone and the right mindset and really own my product.
So I think for you, have you written a book yet?
Yes, not in networking though.
Has it been published?
Yes, but it's not really for, I'll give you a little background. The first 10 years of being a rabbi, I have zero financial literacy. I went to yeshiva and graduated with a rabbinic degree, and part of that training does not include cash flow management. So the first 10 years of the rabbinate, I made a total mess of myself. And
but can I, in plain speak, from business, you started a business.
Yeah.
In essence, you were basically backed by investors, backed by God, without any capital.
And it was right there on the dollar, in God we trust.
Right.
God we trust.
That's where it was.
Excellent. But in essence, if I understand correctly, you were basically started a congregation.
Took over a congregation.
Took over a congregation.
Correct.
With zero financial backing. Correct. And it was basically like, all right, hey, we like you.
Let me clarify.
Go.
My parents gave us seed money, significant seed money, when we started off. But seed money doesn't really help you if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
So, you could squander some of it, not intentionally.
Squandered is a very.
I had to use that word because
it's a very good.
Because you said it was a healthy amount. It wasn't like they just gave you $10. They gave you a decent amount.
If I knew what I was doing, it would have been very good.
So the reason I asked that question is, this whole journey, forget the first 10 years, this is what you should write about. How you've gotten to where you are right now.
So I've published articles and books for Chabad rabbis about how to learn from your mistakes and to manage your cash flow.
Oh yeah, actually, that's actually a good topic because of younger rabbis coming out. That
correct. How can you help a younger generation of salespeople?
And here we tie it all together. Where
how can you help a younger generation of rabbis?
Yeah. Very much so.
You know.
So, if you take a look back, what were some of the biggest mistakes you might have made that you can talk about, I guess?
Top 10?
I got a whole list.
The biggest mistakes that I did, thinking I'm alone is probably the biggest mistake, that no one understands me. Mm-hmm. I'm the rabbi, I'm supposed to have all the answers, I'm supposed to be, I stand in front of the congregation and I'm the guy with preaching.
You're supposed to have a consigliere.
Say it again?
A consigliere.
There you go.
Everyone needs one.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't matter how high you are, everyone needs one.
So the feeling that I don't have anyone to talk with, and however deep a hole I was in, it was like I was there by myself. And it took me a while to finally realize that, to the contrary, people want to help. There are people that are there who have been in similar, if not, with more zeros, situation of a deeper hole. And there are genuinely good people that want to be helpful to what you're doing. You just got to reach out and be honest with yourself. I think that's the crucial thing. Be honest with yourself, what your skills are, and what your flaws are. Enhance your skills, develop your flaws, or work on those flaws to make them less burdensome. And it's been a fascinating journey, and thank God we're here to tell the tale.
Fast forward from those first 10 years to the end of the second 10 years. How's your financial stability at the Chabad now? How is it?
Pretty good.
I don't want to number it.
Pretty
I'm
good.
just a lot different
I
than
brought my 1099.
a lot different than where you were 10 years ago.
Very different. Yeah.
Mom and Dad super proud.
Yes.
Ooh, you hesitated.
No, I mean I don't report back to them, but
Well, is it not? They don't own the Chabad.
no.
Explain that.
So Chabad is really a it's a nonprofit. It's owned by the board. It's owned by the congregation. Every Chabad is independently owned and
God,
operated.
that's what I will. Yeah,
It's kind of
okay.
a religious franchise. I
So
mean,
they don't get a cut. They don't get a vig. Nothing.
nothing.
Wow.
I give them free seats in this congregation. They sit right up front. They sit right up front.
Take it
But
from
every
now.
single Chabad is its own legal entity. We don't send money to headquarters. Headquarters doesn't
There's
send
no
us money.
there's no
It's
franchise
not a
fee per
franchise
se.
fee.
It's not their
We
market.
network like
Right.
crazy. We're always talking to each other and creating. We maximize the efficiency of each Chabad center. We have a good idea. We let the guy next door know about it. We all do well. But my parents are I hope smiling and from the side and they know a lot of the hell that I went through, so they're able to appreciate it. But you know that thank God that time is
Yeah.
behind me.
No.
And listen, you know, COVID was an interesting. I don't know if that's the right adjective. From the health standpoint, from the shutdown standpoint, but
Bullshit. Sorry.
are we going there? We pivoted quite well during COVID,
Same
and
here.
we maximized what our role was going to be in the community, and we came
What
up
were some
stronger.
of the, when you pivoted? What were some of the things that you did, or I'd say, what were some of the changes that you learned or you made that could kind of take you from kind of semi-distressed situation to, you know, and let's call it what it is. At this point, Comac Chabad is a well-known entity. You're a well-known entity, not just in Comac, but in other places as well. So what are some of the things that you did that got you there besides just hard work?
I distinctly remember it was going to be about end of 2020, thinking to myself, the world's going to come out of this, and those that pivot was the word of the day.
Yeah, it
those
was.
those that deal with the reality appropriately will come out stronger in every industry, which it did. I was like, you know what? First of all, appreciate the downtime. You know, spend time with your kids.
Sure.
But position yourself that when we come out, we'll be a lot stronger. And what we did that time, we started a Judaism at Home program. It started off with like 300 families where we had boxes for
Just 300
Passover.
families.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Passover, Hanukkah, Shabbat. We made these little boxes. We had 20 volunteers delivering them out for the holidays. Within a year, it had grown to 1,200 families
Oh, nice.
of matzah for Passover and challah for Shabbat, and you know all the appropriate needs for any specific holiday. Within a year, it blossomed. We had 50, 60 volunteers that were delivering it. Yes,
Hi,
with the
how you
girls
doing?
going out.
That's right.
So we utilized that time, and we came up with an idea with other Chabads as well to be able to really use that unique time period to. There's always going to be a need.
Reflect.
There's always going to be a need. Judaism, religion, spirituality. There's always going to be a need. Find how you can have deliverables that are relevant to people during that time, and it worked well. We also did on the back end a lot. We moved our back end operations to the Philippines.
So this is what people don't realize. There's a business
side.
There's a business side.
There's a business side to a synagogue.
It is what it is.
It is what
It is. We moved really our whole operations, graphics, data entry. We moved to Salesforce. You know, it was a quiet time period, so we were able to do data migration, which is a huge headache and a huge undertaking. And we wanted to make the business side as efficient as possible,
Right.
to free up energy and to free up brain cells to
I mean,
really.
what's so fascinating, as somebody in my background, when I hear you speaking, it's as if I was talking to a private equity-backed company that was being acquired.
Any
or-
good VCs that want to invest in Chabad?
Well, I'll see what we can do.
Did,
But yeah,
but
the business side of it is so crucial because so many a rabbi is bogged down by the minutia of
course.
a salesman.
Like
Doesn't
any
want
job, like
a
any-
salesman doesn't want to be signing paperwork with his
you
own.
want the rabbi to be the rabbi.
Yeah.
You
Right.
you just clarified my day, sending a note to my boss. Hey, boss, 70 manual adjustments I have to do this month. Still not approved. I still have to go back and check every day. I'm
Shoot me now.
continuing to do the same work over and over. Is this what you want me to do?
Well, you're able to quantify what your goal is, and my goal, and that's it, and that it's very easy because it's a dollar amount that I can have to quantify. But if my personal goal is to engage in 40 interactions a week.
Good to put a number on it.
40
Love it.
interactions a week. This being one of them.
Sure.
Lunch, visiting someone's office. 40, and I have X amount of hours to do that. You really, you create a funnel or filter out the noise to say, hey, my goal, I have a real goal to accomplish this week. Everything else is noise. And it's worth it for me to pay someone real money
Yeah,
to be able to offload all the distractions, because there's a million things I'd rather do than getting into a car and schlep across town to try to find a new relationship.
Did you go to Zoom with your service?
No. 2 reasons. A, from a religious standpoint, we don't use technology on Shabbat. We don't use electronics on Shabbat. So it was always, there was from March 15th, I think, was shut down.
March
to about
15th.
May-ish. We had no services. We had Sunday morning services when technology is allowed. Sunday morning we had some online services. We did classes, we did courses, we did a lot of lectures online. Saturday morning services we did not. May, we started services outside. We got a tent.
Sure.
We did services outside. And I think in retrospect it actually was crucial, because a lot of congregations did go Zoom. Once you go Zoom, it's hard to go back.
I know what you mean.
And then for a congregant, so much of a congregation is the interpersonal relationship.
Sure.
And if I'm doing it on Zoom, by the way, there's 1,000 congregations on YouTube. I can get better, different, novel. And I think there was a lot of congregations that lost out in the long term because they went that direction. And it's hard to then put the genie back in the bottle.
So I had the same scenario with the networking group that I was in charge of, and when COVID hit, we went to Zoom. I still went to the diner, me and 4 other people, set up the camera up there, had a TV in the back room, and we did our networking online. We made a cutoff date, July 1st. Either you're in or you're out.
Right.
We'll be turning off the Zoom. If you want to be part of this organization, you're in. In means show up in person. If you're not, good luck to you, be well. And we turned it off. And people bitched and they moaned, and it was like, don't care. This is in person.
This is a handshake. This is face-to-face.
Yeah.
And a rabbi relationship. I'm getting verklempt here. I'm getting choked up. There's the relationship. It's a relationship.
Yeah.
A rabbinic relationship is in person, and that can't be replaced. So
just I know we're running out of time,
Yeah.
but just go so quickly. Right before COVID shut down, but again, you probably don't remember this, I was going to Panama, and I was nervous. I called Rabbi. I said, hey, if I run into any problems in Panama, is there any Chabads I can go to? 5 minutes later, boom, 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 spoke to the Chabad Rabbi.
Serious?
people knowing people. It's really the industry.
Wow.
The country shut down March 15th, and I got back, I think, March 12th.
Okay.
Wow.
So I literally was just getting, and I didn't pay attention. I thought things would be a problem, but again, anytime I run into a problem, first person I call if I need to go anywhere in the world. I feel like if I give you a game and I say, Rabbi, find me somebody in Brazil, piece of cake. Find me somebody in Chile, oh, that's easy. But yeah,
That's awesome.
Listen, society, civilization was built on people connecting with other people.
That's what I do.
And
That's what this podcast is about.
that's what life is. That's what life is.
So we got 2 last questions. Do you know the last 2? You know the last one.
Yeah, I know.
Where are you and your Chabad in 5 years?
It's an excellent question. So I don't want to go on a long tangent, but
Please don't.
But about a year ago, 2 years ago, we started with EOS. You familiar with EOS? Entrepreneur's Operating System. So business management, strategic goals. Our 10-year goal is that 2 years ago we had a 10-year goal of engaging 5,000 people in 1 year.
Okay.
Our 5-year goal is to have it about 3,500. So that's unique people having a meaningful interaction with Chabad within 5 years, in 1 calendar year.
All right, so this last question is going to be good because it's you. If you could have dinner with anyone in the history of the world, who would you choose? I'm trying to make it easy here.
George Washington.
Okay. Mine was Jesus Christ.
Okay. A little different.
It's always, always has been. Who was yours?
The Rock?
The Rock. Okay. All right, we're over. How can we reach you? Look into the camera. And how do we, give us your name, your Chabad name,
Mendel
phone number?
Teldon, Chabad of Mid-Suffolk. Cell is 631-767-3144. Email rabbi@chabadmidsuffolk.com. On socials, it's @ComacRabbi.
How are we reaching you, Mark?
Mark Simpson from the Integritas Group, 917-414-4027. We handle all your outsourced loss prevention needs.
And I am Eddie Pods. You need a Pods container, you give me a call at 631-334-8587. Or if you'd like me to come talk to your sales team, love to chat with you. It's eddiepods@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone, for joining the show. Look forward to our next episode. Rabbi, pleasure to have you here. Thank you.